Coming up on Hunter News Now, CUNY's Chancellor delivers the State of the University address and proposes big changes to make CUNY the top student-centered school in the nation by 2030.
And seniors graduating this semester will have to wait a bit longer to get their hands on their diplomas.
And we'll hear what students think of subway safety and the number 6 train in our latest edition of Hunter Students Speak.
All that and more on this edition of Hunter News Now. Hello and welcome to this edition of Hunter News Now. I'm Nadia Herr.
And I'm Brittany Franco.
First, let's dive into the Chancellor's big plans for CUNY. Earlier this month, he outlined the vision to transform CUNY into the nation's most student-centered university by 2030 in his speech held right here at Hunter. The Chancellor has proposed a strategic roadmap called CUNY's Lifting New York that will create a bigger, better and bolder CUNY.
CUNY commitment to expanding access to underrepresented students, advancing student success before and after graduation, strengthening academic quality and scholarly excellence, and creating the state-of-the-art facilities that are indispensable to our teaching and research mission.
The Chancellor says these are not just aspirations, they are obligations to a student body of more than 200,000 students.
Among the top priorities, adding more online degree programs, partnering with big companies to hire CUNY students, and making it easier to transfer from a community college to a senior college. There's also a $5.5 billion campaign, that's billion with a B, to modernize CUNY's aging campuses, and the Chancellor promises to provide updates every year on the progress of this ambitious plan.
It's great to see this focus on students and the improvement of the college's infrastructure. Now fix those elevators.
Yeah, now that's a big dream.
Graduation is right around the corner for the Hawks completing their final semester at Hunter this fall. But they will have to wait a bit to celebrate with friends and family.
Hunter has announced that starting this year, winter and spring commencements will be held together from now on in the spring. That decision was made to allow friends, family, and staff to celebrate all graduates in one grand celebration.
The college hasn't released any details yet, but students can apply to graduate in May from now until April 1st.
Unfortunately for graduating seniors, the MTA Station outside of Hunter is still under construction. Here's the good news. The entrance on 68th Street leading up to the Visitor Center is now open, and there is a brand new entrance to the station on the east side of Lexington Avenue between 68th and 69th Street. The project timeline has not changed, and the $150 million renovation is expected to be completed by December 2024.
Concerns about crime on the MTA are growing after several stabbings and robberies this year. And Hunter's own 68th Street is no exception. Earlier this month, a 74-year-old man was pushed onto the subway tracks at Hunter College's station on his way home from work. The man was pulled from the tracks before a train came, but broke several ribs. With many students taking the subway to school every day, safety on the subway is a hot topic. Here's more on what students think about the MTA in this edition of Hunter Students Speak.
This might be like a New York problem.
Have walked 10 blocks rather than stay on the train longer.
As a woman, it's a little harder to feel safe.
Even if it feels unsafe, it's still a lot safer than it used to be.
Yeah, I think it's
but I know that
but in the morning, yeah, it's pretty safe because, a lot of people are around me.
It depends on who's on the subway and what time.
There was a guy, who asked me for $100, and he told me a story of, how he got out of jail and stuff.
Many times I've had to switch cars or waited for a next train and got off at a different stop because you just don't feel safe.
Maybe somebody on the edge is like doing heroin and it's like, oh.
Instead of focusing on making fees higher, and I feel like focusing more on actual social safety.
And there should be security, wandering around, just making sure people are safe.
tracks, be alert, don't wait for the train right next to the tracks.
Just like be aware of your surroundings, I guess.
But I know that
The fight for women's rights has come to Hunter's campus thanks to former Congresswoman this past spring. Carolyn Maloney, who is also a Roosevelt House Distinguished Leader in Residence, launched a movement to have the Constitution include the Equal Rights Amendment, which would make discrimination based on sex unconstitutional. Nicole Rajgor has more on the movement and the club started by Hunter students.
Former Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney has one mission, and it's to make women equal in the Constitution.
My daughters and my students have less rights than I had when I was their age.
The amendment would also give women more legal protections when it comes to domestic violence, divorce, and property ownership. It's been 100 years since the ERA was first proposed, but it wasn't until 1972 that Shirley Chisholm and former Hunter alumna Bella Abzug convinced Congress to pass the amendment, but a last-minute deadline was imposed, preventing the ERA from officially joining the Constitution.
Things don't just happen. It moves because there is a movement.
When the founders drafted the Constitution, they intentionally left out women, people of color, immigrants, people with disabilities.
Maloney came to Hunter College to start a petition to remove the deadline and restart the ratification process. The message is resonating with students who are eager to get involved.
When you look at the demographics of Hunter College, Hunter students have the most to lose without the Equal Rights Amendment. We're a majority black and brown student population, and a majority women student population.
So far, the petition has over 72,000 signatures, thanks to the Roosevelt House Initiative and Sign for ERA Club.
People don't know a lot about Hunter's historic legacy within social justice movements. I mean, CUNY has a pretty historical involvement in a lot of the major movements, especially being at the heart of New York.
Maloney is optimistic about what the future holds for the ERA.
It's long past due. We're the only democratic country in the whole world that doesn't have women in our Constitution. We can make it happen.
To support the removal of the ratification deadline, you can sign the petition at www.signforera.org. I'm Nicole Rajgor, Hunter News Now.
Coming up after the break, we'll be talking to a leader of Hunter's Sign for ERA Club and learn more about what Hunter students are doing to put gender equality into the Constitution.
Stay with us. According to Data for Progress, more than 80% of voters support the Equal Rights Amendment to ensure women have the same constitutional protections as men. The problem is that the deadline for ratification has expired. As the fight to remove the deadline continues, some students here on campus have banded together to raise awareness and support for the ERA. The student-led Sign for ERA Club works actively to promote the amendment.
To tell us more, we're joined by our guest, Gretchen Wulfmeyer, the treasurer for the Sign for ERA chapter at Hunter College. She's also a Roosevelt scholar pursuing her bachelor's degree in Women and Gender Studies and Human Rights. Welcome, Gretchen. Nice. We're so happy to have you here.
It's great to be here.
So, Gretchen, could you tell us a little bit about what the Sign for ERA Club does?
So our mission is to raise awareness for the significance of the ERA and particularly its ability to enforce equal pay for women and bolster protections for women who are victims of gender-based violence and discrimination and make reproductive rights violations unconstitutional.
Great. Why is the petition to remove the ERA so important?
The deadline is being used as an arbitrary restriction to prevent the ERA from being passed. It's something that could easily be rewritten, and it's not even in the text of the amendment. And so many other amendments don't even have deadlines. So the GOP is weaponizing this as an argument because they recognize the threat that it poses to their pro-life legislation.
What inspired you to be part of the ERA Club?
I actually received an email during the summer when they started to try to get signatures to make the club like a real thing. It's still in development, but I shot them an email and signed up for the club, and ever since I've been involved, and they told me they had an open position for the treasurer, and I hopped in.
And what's the reaction from Hunter students? How is this campaign being received?
So we had over 70 signatures signing for interest and wanting to join the email list, but only few have joined the WhatsApp group chat and started to get involved with us, and we're still bolstering support.
And where does the Sign for ERA Club meet, and how can students join?
Since we're a new club, we're still getting our ducks in a row with budgetary constraints and scheduling, so we have not quite figured out where we're going to be meeting or how people can reach us, but we will be coming forward with more information soon about that.
Oh, that sounds great.
That's great to hear. So thank you so much, Gretchen, for joining us and educating us a bit more about the importance of Sign for ERA.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, our sports anchor Megan Gleason will be back in the studio, highlighting big wins against Baruch for both soccer and volleyball.
And we'll introduce you to our scholar athlete, Bradley Espejo, who is a leader on and off the soccer field. As we dive deeper into the full season, there's quite a bit of action from our Hunter Hawks to tell you about.
This week, we are talking about big wins against our downtown rival, Baruch College, thanks to some standout players. And who better to bring us the latest details than our sports anchor, Megan Gleason. Welcome, Megan.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hi, Megan.
Good. So Megan, what's happening this week?
So, our Hawks are coming off a hot week. We have 3 CUNY AD players this week and big finishes all around. Let's start with our men's cross-country team. The Hawks sprinted through the NJIT Highlander Challenge this week, and quite a few of our men are looking strong. Brian Guillermo, named the CUNY AD Runner of the Week, finished 29th out of 234 runners, clocking an impressive 27 minutes for the men's 8K. That's a 5.5-minute mile time. Wow. As a team, the Hawks placed 26th overall. You can catch their next race at Medgar Evers College in Brooklyn on October 22nd. Let's move on to our Lady Hawks over on the volleyball court. They were up against the Bearcats and played on their turf at Baruch College. And I know I've mentioned it before, but there is nothing like the energy at these games. I mean, look at these fans. And our Hawks match that energy every time. This one was definitely a nail-biter, with this match going all the way to 5 sets until the Hawks pulled out a win. With blocks like this, and spikes like that from CUNY AD Player of the Week junior Tessa Winkleman, the Hawks came out on top despite some pretty impressive heckling from a Baruch fan. I'm sure this heckler in particular will be happy to know that our Hawks did in fact get back on the 6, as winners. Next match will be at home at the Sportsplex, where they'll be hosting a tri-match. And last, but certainly not least, our men's soccer team. These boys are on fire, coming off a 5-game winning streak after their 5-1 win against Baruch College. At their annual senior game of the season, they honored their 5 senior players and then went on to show off their impressive technical skills, with goalkeeper junior Matthew Hemowitz making 9 saves throughout the game, letting in just 1 goal for Baruch. Thanks to him and our midfield and forward players, our Hawks were unstoppable. They were up 2-0 against the Bearcats in the first quarter. Bradley Espejo, who was named CUNYAC's Player of the Week for the second time this season, led the charge on the field with 1 goal and 1 assist. And an exciting moment for senior Basro Juara with his first goal of the season. They definitely enjoyed this win, and so did their fans. That's our sports report. Now, let's take a look at our Scholar Athlete of the Week. You've already seen him in action. It's Bradley Espejo. Espejo continues to dominate the men's soccer team this season with 8 goals and 3 assists. As team captain, this Staten Island native hopes to lead the Hawks right into the men's CUNY playoffs later this month. In this week's Scholar Athlete Report, Hunter News Now reporter Walter Weiss takes a closer look at what makes Espejo a top scorer and team leader.
When I'm playing a game, I feel very energetic, sometimes angry at the other team. I like to channel all my emotions into the intensity of how I play. My name is Bradley Espejo. I'm a senior at Hunter College, and my major is economics. I first got involved in soccer at a young age because of my father and my parents, basically. It was a part of their culture and their identity, and they passed it along to me. And my passion from the sport also comes from my culture and my parents. What makes me get up every morning at 5:30 to go to practice is that one day we were in the gym in B3 and we looked up at the banner and the coach told us that we don't have our year posted up on the championship banner, and just the hunger to get our year, one of my years on that banner is what makes me wake up every morning. So we were in the huddle and the assistant coach was basically informing us on everything that we did wrong, like mistakes, errors, and he was telling us how to come out stronger in the second half.
Bradley had an excellent game today. He controlled the midfield for us, was dominant on the ball, won against 50-50s, kept our possession, changed our field when we needed to, opened up space for us without the ball at his foot, and was just very effective overall throughout the game.
What I like about school is hanging out with my teammates around the classroom, interacting with my peers, and learning from my professors. The toughest part about balancing my studies and playing soccer is honestly just staying awake. Waking up every morning at a super early time and then staying here until sometimes 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock. It's hard to stay awake sometimes. Right before I score a goal, what goes through my mind is like the positioning of the goalie and which side he's on so I could shoot it to the other side.
Shot from Espejo and a goal! 1-0 already.
One lesson that I've learned from soccer that will stay with me for the rest of my life is to never give up. No matter how bad you're down or how bad it looks, you can always come back.
Well, thank you, Megan, for joining us and sharing all this exciting news about sport.
Thanks for having me. See you guys next week.
Of course, see you next week.
See you next week. Up next, we'll be introducing you to our first scholar artist of this semester on Hunter News Now. She's stepping it up on the dance floor.
Plus, we'll take you to a journalism program luncheon where an award-winning journalist gives Hunter students some priceless career advice. Stay tuned.
Hi, Hunter Career Center. How can I help you?
Welcome back to Hunter News Now.
Some top Hunter journalist students were in for a treat when award-winning journalist Anna Sussman stopped by campus to discuss her career over lunch.
Sussman is now a freelance journalist who writes about gender and reproduction. She used to work at the Wall Street Journal and Reuters and also has written stories for the New York Times, the New Yorker, and the Atlantic. Students had the opportunity to unwind from classes as midterms approach and ask Sussman questions about journalism and advice on how to succeed in the industry.
If you have good clips, you can leverage those into pitching for different places. So I would say if you have the opportunity to write for your school paper or a community outlet and do stories and build up your portfolio, that really speaks for itself.
The Pulitzer Center and Journalism Program Director Cecil McCarthy hosted the event to bring journalism students together over sandwiches and sweet treats.
A special thank to Anna Sussman for her time and wisdom. We wish her all the best on her current project, which is a book called Inconceivable: Reproduction in an Age of Uncertainty. It was so great to talk with Anna and learn a lot about journalism, like the industry, from her.
I'll be sure to get her book when it comes out. On to our Scholar Artist of the Week, who is definitely getting her steps in every day. After 14 years of Irish step dancing, it is safe to say that Hailey Tulloch is one of Hunter's most experienced dancers. Tulloch's passion for dance and her unparalleled talent makes her stand out among her peers. But what is most inspiring is her passion for helping others, especially young dancers hoping to follow in her footsteps. As she prepares for her 10th regional competition, Hunter News Now reporter Sydney Hardgrove is getting an exclusive look into Tulloch's world of dance.
You're flying across the stage, you're smiling, you're putting every ounce of it out on that stage. My name is Hailey Tulloch. I am a student at Hunter College. I am an Irish dancer. I have been Irish dancing for going on 14 years now. I've been dancing for longer. And I have competed at regional and national level. I have also performed in many shows as well. When I was in elementary school, I found a picture of some dancers, and I thought, I'm like, hey, this looks cool. So I showed it to my mom, and we found a school nearby. My first regional competition, it was over, I think, 10 years ago. I was with my mom. I was only doing a team dance, and it was a completely different world. We were kind of just getting to know everything, but as a little kid going into it and seeing the big dancers, that almost wow factor, being like, I could get to this point, like that could be me. Like you're looking up to them. And then later on, when I became that, it's almost like you see those little dancers that were in your position.
Up next, Tulloch is preparing for the Mid-Atlantic Regional Competition.
And finally today, I have a question for you, Nadia, and our audience. Did you happen to see some familiar faces on buses or trains around the city? And I mean literally on the walls. As you can see in our video, these CUNY students are the new faces of this year's CUNY AD Campaign. A casting call for the A Degree for Every Dream campaign was posted to CUNY's Instagram page in early August, looking for more than 60 students across all 25 campuses. And now, the AD campaign has launched.
The ads highlight CUNY's affordability and academic and social opportunities available to students. They are already running on New York City buses and subways with images of students and CUNY's Chancellor. These ads can also be seen in the Times Square shuttle, the LIRR and Metro North, the Staten Island Ferry Terminal, and even at LaGuardia Airport.
Well, if you happen to miss the first casting call, it's not too late. If you are interested in being the face of CUNY in future ad campaigns, follow the Instagram page at CUNY by students and stay tuned for future opportunities. On my 2-hour commute home, I've definitely seen some CUNY faces.
I've seen some ads too on the trains.
Well, that's all we have for this edition of Hunter News Now, folks. You can check out all of our students' stories on our YouTube channel, Hunter College Journalism.
And be sure to follow us at Hunter Journ on Twitter and at Hunter JOURPGM on Instagram.
On behalf of everyone in the studio, thank you for watching.
See you next time.